Well, we've gathered enough kids' movies to talk about them here, including one that was recently #1 at the box office. Let's talk about Paw Patrol, the Mighty Movie, Spy Kids Armageddon, and Rally Road Racers. Hey guys, Dan here. This is Dan Reviews It. Welcome to my movie reviews for 3 recent kids' movies. One that is in theaters now, which is Paw Patrol, the Mighty Movie. This debuted at #1. Huge success for the brand. They're having a 3rd movie in the works. And of course, that's based on the popular kids show Paw Patrol. You've got Spy Kids Armageddon, which is streaming right now on Netflix, and the 5th in the Spy Kids series. But even, I think, for younger kids than the other Spy Kids movies were. So, again, another one for really the young set. And then Rally Road Racers was in theaters earlier this year, but is now streaming on Peacock. So you can watch that one. And that is an original sort of concept, but certainly reminiscent of some other animated films that have come out in the last few years. So, all right, before we launch into the specifics of these 3 movies, let me welcome you into Dan Reviews It. Thank you for finding this video. We do TV and movie reviews here, and yeah, I mean, I review pretty much everything that comes out on a big scale. At least I try to. Sometimes it's a little much with all the streaming movies that we get inundated with, so that I'm a little choosier with. But Paw Patrol was such a huge hit at the box office. It seemed like I really had to go see it for myself, and there's some famous voices in there, and I actually rather enjoyed the last Paw Patrol movie. It's not obviously in my wheelhouse, and I don't have kids, although I do have nephews that are 4 of them are still under the age of 11 or 12. So when Paw Patrol came out, they were, right kind of in that wheelhouse. So I'm familiar enough with the characters at least. But let's start there, shall we? So Paw Patrol, the Mighty Movie, like I said, this is in theaters right now. And this picks up, I guess, where the last movie left off. It's, it's kind of irrelevant, I guess, as long as you sort of know the characters from the show. You don't need to see the previous movie for sure. But in this one, the Paw Patrol pups gain superpowers a la it's sort of a mix of like the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, because they're all different colors, and then the, Marvel and DC superhero movies that are obviously so popular. But they find these crystals and gain superpowers, so they've got to stop Mayor Humdinger, as usual, and his brand new accomplice, Victoria Vance, who is played by the wonderful Taraji P. Henson, and they want to obviously take over Adventure City. If you've seen Paw Patrol, you kind of know the deal here. So many voices returning from the first movie, and some of the people are actually new here, including the voice of Flynn. He is or Ryder, I'm sorry. It's Flynn Rider's Entangled, right? So I always get them confused. Ryder is the name of the kid. So Finn, and his name is Finn. Okay, there you go. Finn Lee Epp is the voice there, and this is the first feature that he's done. He replaces Cal Harris from the series, and then Will Brisbane from the film. So this is his first kind of entree into the world. But we've got Lil Rel Howery as Sam. Ron Pardo returns, of course, as Mayor Humdinger from both the series and the first movie. Marseille Martin returns as Liberty. McKenna Grace returns. She's a first-timer as well. Lily Bartlam was Sky in the first film, but McKenna Grace, we know her from many, many things. She's coming on as Sky. Christian Convery as Chase, and he was played by young Sheldon Ian Armitage in the first film. So, a few people returning from the first film, and a few people new to the series, and some other voice surprises as well we won't get into here. All right, so look, I enjoyed the first film. I gave it either a B or a B+, somewhere in that range. I thought it was really cute. I thought it was funny. Certainly good for, young kids. Look, all 3 of these movies really are not going to be for older kids. I think probably the age range for these movies is like 8 and under, or maybe 10 and under for the Spy Kids one. But this is not a movie I think that, anybody over the age of 8 probably is going to even want to see. Even my nephews have kind of aged out. They think, oh, this is sort of for babies. I guess it kind of is, but this is rated PG, which is really bizarre. It's another nail, I think, in the MPAA's, hopefully soon coffin. The MPAA rating system is so stupid. The first movie was rated G. And I guess on a big scale, that's about the last movie I can think of that was rated G. I know Toy Story 4 was as well. But now we're going back to, what was that, 2019 maybe for that? There's like one movie maybe a year that gets rated G anymore. So it's a pointless thing. And if this movie, a movie really for like, 4 and 5 year olds, is not rated G, I don't know what to say about why that rating exists. Yeah, there's a little bit of literal toilet humor here. Mayor Humdinger in jail talks about his toilet a little bit, but okay. Other than that, there's not really anything in this movie that is not able to be seen by very, very young children. Yeah, it's certainly more action oriented than the first movie because of the superhero stuff. But look, this is a cute series. I think Paw Patrol is cool. I think it's funny. I think some of the jokes are a little bit lamer in this one than in the first one. But I like the characters that they've presented in Paw Patrol, and there's a special kind of message here because we introduce some new little characters that are so cutesy, and but one of the characters is having an issue because she doesn't feel like she is special, and she feels like she's too little for to help. And look, I was a little kid too. I'm still not very tall, compared to normal adults, let's say. I come up a bit short, literally. But there's some nice messages there about, everybody has their place kind of thing. And, everybody's also got their own time, everything in due time. So I think these are good messages for the kids. I will say that the superhero thing is tired. And I think the parents going to see this with their kids are not going to really be as into this as they were maybe the first movie, which I think had a little bit of a more organic story. This one takes every move out of the Marvel and DC playbook right down to the, like, there's 3 different endings because, we thought we were done. Oh, nope, they're coming back now, and now we're going to do it all over again. And so look, it gets to be a little much. It's definitely by the book in that regard. But look, most of the little kids seeing this movie probably have not seen much of the Marvel stuff. Maybe Spider-Man, that usually goes for the younger crowd than some of the others. But yeah, I think this is fine. It's definitely not as good as the first movie, but certainly serviceable. The animation is cute, and I do like, the new edition characters, the really, really cutesy ones. So I will leave Paw Patrol, the Mighty Movie, with a B. A slight tick down. I do believe I gave that first one a B+. All right, so let's move on now to Spy Kids Armageddon. This is streaming on Netflix right now. And this is right in line with the other ones, and right down to the fact that it was directed by Robert Rodriguez, and it was written by him and his son. And he's, had a hand in all of these Spy Kids movies. I will admit, I was a little too old to really embrace these movies when they first came out. I know it's silly because I'm here talking about Paw Patrol, and I'm a middle-aged man. But when I was in college and right out of college, I really was not watching kids' movies. I certainly wasn't reviewing them or anything. So, they just sort of passed me by. So the only Spy Kids movie I've actually seen is the third one. Sylvester Stallone kind of got me in the door on that one, and it was cute. I get it. But what's odd about this one is, it's a whole different cast. It's in the continuity, although Uncle Machete is not in this, but apparently it's in the same continuity. There must have been some Easter eggs I didn't pick up on. But it is supposed to be a direct sequel to the previous one, which is All the Time in the World. But it's Gina Rodriguez and Zachary Levi playing the parents here, and the kids are Connor Esterson and Everly Carnanila or something. And like some of the other ones, they are the children of the world's greatest secret agents, and they end up trying to save the day as well. But this is just like the third one in the sense that it is a video game developer that is unleashing a computer virus that gives them control of technology. And the final showdown is like, it's super close to what we already saw in Spy Kids 3. So I'm not exactly sure, especially since the Rodriguezes have a big hand in this. Why are we just repeating ourselves? There haven't been that many movies in the series. There must be some other, thing we can use here, as a villain. But that final battle scene is really, and now I will admit the technology is better here, and it looks sleeker than Spy Kids 3D, which, was sort of on that, like it was pre-Avatar, How to Train Your Dragon and Alice in Wonderland, some of those really, eye-popping 3D, effects type movies. So it looked kind of lame. So okay, this one looks sleeker, but it's a much worse movie. And I think Spy Kids 3D was not all that great. It was okay. I wasn't grading movies at the time, but it's probably like a C or something, or C plus. But the acting here is pretty bad by these kids. They've made this for the younger set for sure. Maybe a little bit older than who would enjoy the Paw Patrol movie, but I think anybody over the age of 10 would probably think this was pretty lame, to be honest. As an adult watching this, look, I like Zachary Levi. Obviously, he's done many fun things, and he was Flynn Rider, I think, actually, right? To bring it all back around to that. But but he's fine here. Gina Rodriguez is okay. But the focus really is on these children who are terrible actors. So that does not help. And then just that this is basically a retread of 3D Game Over or whatever it was called, is kind of lame as well. Now, I was interested in seeing the fourth one because I like Joel McHale. He was in that, but it kind of came and went at movie theaters, and I just, never sought it out on DVD or anything. So again, this is before I was reviewing everything. So, a lot of things kind of passed me by if I missed it in theaters or if I wasn't that interested. Take my thoughts on this one with a grain of salt, but my guess would be if you really are into those first couple Spy Kids movies, I think you're gonna dislike this even more than me. Because at least those kids could act, and the parents are fine in all the Spy Kids movies, I guess, but again, they're not really the focal point. So as much as I like Zachary Levi, there's only so much that his personality and stuff can bring to the table here. So I leave Spy Kids Armageddon with a D plus. All right, and then somewhere in the middle of these two movies, we get Rally Road Racers. This is currently streaming on Peacock, and it features the voice talents of J.K. Simmons, Jimmy O. Yang, Chloe Bennett, Sharon Hogan, Catherine Tate, and the great John Cleese. So there's a lot of, pretty famous people here. A lot of famous Brits, too. John Cleese, of course, from Monty Python. Catherine Tate, who, did a bunch of sketch comedy and stuff over in England before she came over here to do The Office, last couple seasons of The Office. But this follows novice racer G, played by Jimmy O. Yang, as he tries to save his rural village from a villainous real estate developer named Archie Vainglorious. And that is, of course, John Cleese at his, best sort of, fun villain. And you have J.K. Simmons as Nash, who is a Russian goat and retired racer who becomes G's mentor. J.K. Simmons, a lot of fun in this movie. Look, the voice cast here is all actually clicking. It's interesting because this popped up on an ad for, new stuff on Peacock. And I was like, okay, that seems a little familiar. And so I looked it up, and sure enough, it was in theaters for like a minute, back in April or May or something. And it just dropped on Peacock a few weeks ago. So I guess they're trying to kind of tout it maybe as a bit of an original, because nobody really saw it in theaters. The reviews for it were pretty good. So I'm like, all right, this will be an interesting watch. Look, I think it borrows a little too much from a lot of other racing franchises, including Cars, but even the Fast and Furious franchise, there's some nods there. It's sort of like a junior version in some ways of Fast and Furious, which they already did on, I think it was Netflix. They had a show called Spy Racers. It's not quite as action heavy, I guess, as that, but it's got shades of Turbo, maybe. Remember that cartoon about the snail that wanted to be a racer? So look, have we beat the racing theme to death? I don't know. Kids are certainly still into it, I think, with there was a lot of racing in the Mario movie because of Mario Kart. So I think it's always kind of going to be a fun thing to look at, even for adults. There's always good racing movies, Gran Turismo, Ford v Ferrari, whatever. So even though it's borrowing a little bit maybe too heavily from some of those things and not original enough, for the adults watching this, I think they may enjoy some of the comedy. There's a few kind of already dated pop culture references, which is interesting because it makes the movie sort of not dated if you already date the references. If you have a lot of, really current references. Like I think the recent Turtles movie did this a little too much, where there's too many pop culture references that places it square in 2023. But this movie mentions things from like 15 or 20 years ago, where it's like, okay, that's not a current reference, but the good thing about that is if it's already old, then it will always be old. It's kind of like when they had Happy Days on in the 70s and 80s, but it was took place in the 50s. Growing up, I thought it was like a current, show or whatever, or I thought it was a really old show, I should say, because it took place so long ago. So I don't know. Most of the references, pop culture wise, will go over kids' heads anyway. But for adults, they're there. But yeah, it's got some humor in it. J.K. Simmons is doing wonderful as this Russian goat. He puts on an accent, and it's very fun. And Jimmy O Yang, I don't know him too much from the acting, more on the stand-up side of things, but he does a good job here as the lead. A little bit too derivative for me of certain other movies, but not bad for, a lazy Saturday afternoon or something. You want, to pop something on for the kids. If you have Peacock, this might be an okay selection for you. I leave Rally Road Racers with a C+. The animation's like, okay, that's if the animation was a little sharper and stuff, maybe I could have put it a little bit higher, but certainly somewhere in the middle there between Paw Patrol and Spy Kids, we have the Rally Road Racers. All right, so that's going to do it. I know a lot of people do not come to my channel for, little kid reviews, but a lot of you I know that watch my channel have kids, so hopefully that will help your viewing decisions as well. So, all right, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time on Dan Reviews It. Bye.